Hey guys, it's Nick. Thanks for tuning into Long Island Wargaming for a Leadbelcher battle report in prep for Crossroads, because I'm going to be bringing these guys, even though I don't think the list is going to do good. But there's a chance it can. There's a lot of potential here. So, and a nice little surprise for you at the end of this video is Chris is going to do his closing thoughts on this game. So stay tuned. Make sure you watch to the end, because it will be interesting. So, for magic, any body part that the orc can throw around, we rolled up. So, Chris has got fists, foot, and hand, along with Irigo and the Bad Moon. For the ogres, we got Troll Guts, Harmonic Convergence, Thunderbolt, Chain Lightning, and Wind Blast. Unfortunately, no Comet. So, with the nature of this list, I do have to bunker up, castle up in the corner. There is a change in this list. I am running bulls instead of iron guts in previous games. I'm giving up the leadership banner for more bodies, and because I've got painted bulls. I do not have enough time to paint Leadbelchers. You could see I still have to do Gnoblars, assemble, and paint the other Iron Blaster, which is proxied by a Chaos Chariot on the top left of the frame. So, orcs and goblins, left to right, we have Pump Wagon, Wolf Riders, Wolf Rider, they both have musicians. There's a shaman chilling out in the back. Then there are squigs, a wolf chariot, another pump wagon, savage orcs, a bunker unit of goblins, black orcs, and then siege weapons all over the place. In this shot, you can see how close I am to one edge and how far out Chris is. The black orcs really gonna have to swing around and deal with the unit that's hiding in the building. I did bunker this building up with 8 Leadbelchers and the Slaughtermaster. The Butcher is in the Bull unit. But I don't think this building ends up making a difference in the game, because it's also tough to say that you'd even see a building in deployment. Here are some quick Vanguard moves. And you can also see that my guys are slightly moved up in this shot, as despite Chris getting all of his drops down first and getting +1 to go first, I still rolled up a 6. And he rolled up a 3, so I beat him for turn 1. So you can see my Gnoblars are moving up a little bit. The Iron Blaster goes up full, and the Iron Blaster on the other side just goes further down the right flank. That guy's all the way down there because if Chris wants to go after him, I'm fine. At least it'll be distracting something that it could probably kill anyway. So I roll up a 12 for Winds of Magic, which kind of sucks actually, because most of my stuff is at 24-inch range, and I can't hit anything that's important, which really sucks. I'm not going to bother using Harmonic Convergence, because I'm going to be shooting at Wolf Riders, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing fine without rerolls. So I go for Thunderbolt on these guys. I only end up killing 2. I go for Chain Lightning, and Chris dispels it. I was hoping to hit both units. And then with remaining dice to do Troll Guts onto this Leadbelcher unit. I didn't have enough for area of effect, plus he's only level 1, so it would have been tough. But it really doesn't matter because he's got so many targets to choose from that he'll just pick whatever doesn't have Troll Guts. The Leadbelcher, hugging the edge of the board, goes ahead and shoots out this Pump Wagon, and it's dead. The other cannon shoots for the Black Orcs and the Doom Diver, because they want less artillery on the battlefield, and they go ahead and kill the Doom Diver, but miss any of the Black Orcs. The first unit over here runs from the magic. They fail their leadership test for panic. Leadbelchers fail to destroy this unit entirely, but they still they pass their test, which is pretty funny. One of the Leadbelcher units goes ahead and shoots down the other pump wagon, clearing a pass for the Savage Orcs, but also removing something I really didn't want to deal with. So for Orc turn 1, when you're fighting an army of cannons, what do? Run at them really quickly, or sit back and bicker with each other? Savage Orcs decide to fail their animosity test and don't move. And to make matters worse, the fast calves do not rally and end up stopping right in front of the squig, so they can't even move. It's just bad. So these guys go ahead and charge in. I can't do anything with my counter shots because the Gnoblars are just terrible. So this is what it looks like after Chris's movement phase. His Black Orcs are the only ones that were able to make a solid move. The Chariots are moving around, but that's it. It's kind of disappointing. Remember, this doesn't necessarily help me because everything's still really out of range. But I mean, it does give you an extra turn to shoot with the cannons, and you know, I'm not gonna complain. So, Chris rolls up 11 for Winds of Magic. gets an irresistible foot off, and decides to start dropping it on the ogres. The first stomp swayed to this position and ends up killing an ogre and all of the Noblars. This one goes for a direct hit, and the entire unit ends up taking 3 ogres off, and one has 2 more wounds. Chris ends up rolling a 1, so we go on over to the Black Orcs, where the stomp ends up swaying 6 inches, and I end up hitting a few goblins, but I mean, I don't care about the goblins. I wanted to kill the Black Orcs, but whatever. As long as the foot stopped, I'm happy. So this unit passes its leadership test to not run from panic. The Noblars don't, so they will flee. The Doom Diver goes ahead and does some more damage to this unit. So with the stone throwers, Chris decides to throw both at the building, in which case we look up the rules. We didn't realize that under the center, if it hits the building, all of the d6 hits in the building are at that strength 9, which is kind of scary, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. That's just never come up. But luckily, he rolls 2 misfires, so one just gets blown up, one can't fire this turn or next, so I really lucked out there. So the Noblar combat with their cousins, the Goblins. The Goblins do nothing, and I end up killing the 2 Wolf Riders, so they chill. So this is Ogre turn 2. I guess that little unit of 2 Noblars did pass their panic test, so they are just running around. They're going to go try to get in the way of the Black Orcs at some point. The Bulls end up moving up and wheeling around to use that impassable to protect their side, because the Squigs are too small to go through that passage on the other side of the impassable, and Chris is too lazy to reform them into a smaller brick, so it's not going to happen. The Iron Blast is going to continue to scooch up through the side, also by the impassable, and that small unit of 5 Noblars is going to keep running. Their goal is to either get to the Doom Diver, or maybe even deal with the Shaman, the Goblin Shaman that's actually hiding behind that impassable terrain. I actually can't really hit him with anything, because he's hiding very well. Also notice that my Leadbelchers left the building because I didn't want to waste another turn of not shooting, and I didn't see anything in the rules that said I couldn't shoot after leaving the building. If there is something, please leave a comment below, but I moved out of the building and unloaded my guns onto the Black Orcs. So for Winds of Magic, I rolled up a 4, which really sucks. Chris gets 2 Dispel dice. I go ahead and do a Thunderbolt onto this guy and kill him. So Ballistic Skill shooting is so interesting. This is for the Leadbelchers. I rolled up 35 shots, which is great, but I only end up killing about 4 Black Orcs, which isn't that great. But between the cannons and another unit of Leadbelchers, I end up peeling off about a rank or so that's pretty good. The other cannon tries to shoot at the Doom Diver again by shooting through the unit of Squigs, but I end up killing 3 Squigs and never getting to the Doom Diver, which is upsetting. This one unit of Leadbelchers ends up shooting at nothing, or I think they finish off the fast cab that are running away into the Squigs, because as I zoom in here, you could see that he's got the Shaman that's just hiding behind the Goblin tent, and he's just kind of waving his little puppet on a stick around, the little purple thing. He's just kind of doing a puppet show for the Leadbelchers, but he's completely hidden minus that piece of equipment, so I shoot at the fast cab, which kind of ends up being a waste to me. So, Orc turn 2. It's never too late to get into the game, so everyone starts moving at this point. Black Orcs are obviously up a bit further, the Bunker is coming around too, but the Savages and the Squigs are a little bit far behind, so the fact that he didn't get these guys moving quickly means I had enough time to shoot down his chaff and not really worry, where in other cases the chaff could provide hard cover for his other orcs or just cause me to have multiple targets to have to deal with. But I'm in pretty good shape, I think. Chris rolls up 4 for Winds of Magic, which also sucks just as bad as my 4. But he does get off Bigfoot with 4 dice, which is awesome. I have to use my Dispel Scroll because there's no way I'm going to get it off in 2 dice. So I prevent Foot from coming through. But other than that, the artillery doesn't seem to do too much damage, and that's it for Chris's turn. So for Ogre turn 3, this Leadbelcher proxy, the chariot over here to the right, is slowly making his way around the battlefield so I can get as many flank shots on any of his infantry as I can. And the other Iron Blaster does the same over by the impassable. He is also trying to get ready for some crazy flank shots. The Goblars behind the impassable terrain are closing in on the Goblin Shaman, and everyone else just kind of shuffles around and gets ready for the oncoming charge. The unit of 2 is in front of the in front of the Black Orcs. I'm not sure if I'm going to flee or not with them yet. If he charges them, then he'll have to take all those difficult terrain tests. However, I'm not sure I'm going to do that because he might end up lining up for a overrun and clip something else, so I may end up fleeing in my turn. I roll up a 5 for Winds of Magic. I throw all my dice at area effect harmonic convergence, but Chris scrolls it. In shooting, the one Iron Blaster ends up peeling off a whole chunk of the Black Orcs. The thing's really accurate because it gets its 2 rolls for the bounce, but still you have to think a little bit more about how you're going to place your shot because you can't just do 10 inches from the back because you're not trying to just hit the back guy. You're trying to hit a whole bunch of them. So I set it up so I could maybe hit the chariot and a bunch of Black Orcs. So I missed the chariot, but I do end up killing about 7 Black Orcs. One Leadbelcher unit pulls off another 4. And the last Leadbelcher unit pulls off 3 or 4 more, so we're down to, looks like 12 guys, which is great. Orcs and Goblins turn 3. This chariot is going to go for a 19-inch charge, so he needs to roll a 10, and he gets it. It's a pretty solid move, if you ask me. I didn't even think about that being an option. I would have gotten my Noblars in the way. But he goes in for it. He's going to get his impact hits, and I'll probably make away with my Slaughtermaster and maybe kill the thing. And the Black Orcs charge the 2 Noblars. They flee. He passes his redirect test, so now he's like, he needs to get a 14 to get to me, -4, so he needs a 10. And again, he rolls it up, and he runs right into the Noblars, which is rough. I really didn't think the Black Orcs were going to get to me. So this is what we look like at the end of remaining moves. So the Orcs and Goblins are closing in a bit too late, but they are getting there. Chris rolls up a 7 for Winds of Magic, but I'm actually able to dispel everything, which is pretty awesome. Doom Diver goes ahead and kills some more Leadbelchers. So here's a bird's eye view when it comes to combat. The Black Orcs slaughter the Noblars, but for overrun purposes, we didn't know what they were able to do because you see the way that the chariot's lined up and the unit of Black Orcs is pretty long, and they wouldn't be able to move flush up against the chariot because it's essentially an overrun. You just go straight. We just ruled it that he wasn't able to overrun into the Leadbelchers, so he goes ahead and reforms. But if you guys have an opinion or anything that you think about, post it below because we couldn't come up with a good solution. Because I mean, a whole bunch of them would have made it in, but the 3 that are on the right side of the unit kind of prevent them from getting to the Leadbelchers. And I mean, I'm already in combat, so I couldn't wheel to close to him. And I didn't feel like sliding up my Leadbelcher so he could get the charge because I would just be hurting myself. So I'm not entirely sure. What do you guys think? Post some comments below and then we'll take a look at it. Here is the shot of the reformed Black Orcs. Ogre turn 4, I make a charge onto the Shaman, but he gets away. And then a very controversial decision is made here. I actually, instead of shooting the Savage Orcs or the Squigs, I go ahead and make a flank charge. It ends up being a clip, but I do get in. It's a little bit of a cheesy move, but I think it's what I need to do to be able to win this game because there's just too many Squigs to shoot down. But I do get this in, which is interesting, so I'm hoping to just win in terms of charging and flank charging. He is stubborn with Steadfast, but his leader is all the way over in the Black Orcs, so I'm not too upset because Leadership 5, without a reroll, I'm pretty sure they'll break, and when they break, they blow up and kill everything around them, so this should be interesting. And then here's the rest of movement. Nothing really going on. I'm just getting ready to defend myself against the Black Orcs coming in. Oh, and the Noblars go ahead and charge into the chariot. The Noblars actually end up rallying also behind the Black Orcs, so they're going to be in the way of the Savage Orcs. For Winds of Magic, I roll up a 9. I cannot do Lightning Bolt because it is Magic Missile, so I go for, and I'm in combat, so I go for the direct damage one, which is Chain Lightning. And I roll up a 6 and kill a handful of Black Orcs. So at this point, we've got the BSB and the Shaman left. Excellent. So for the moment of truth, the sacrificial Iron Blaster, which is so nicely painted. I rolled 1 for my impact hit, which sucks because now I'm actually teetering on maybe not winning because I need to do. I mean, I got a charge and a flank charge. He alone is stubborn. He's got 3 ranks, so that alone is going to be working against me. But with the Rhinox and the Leadbelcher, I'm able to squeak 1 or 2 more wounds in. So he actually loses by 1, but he's on leadership 5. And he's outside of the BSB reroll range, which is excellent. So he ends up failing his test, which is great. The Squigs go crazy. They end up hitting hits against the Noblars, the Iron Blaster, the Shaman, and the Savage Orcs, completely wiping off this side of the battlefield. The Shaman, the Noblars, the Squigs, and the Iron Blaster are all gone. No wounds were done to the Savages, but yeah, so I think it was worth it. I mean, I knock out an entire big brick, a big horde brick, and the Shaman, but I lose, you know, my Noblars and my Iron Blaster, which is about 200 points, but I definitely made out in that because I definitely got about 500 points worth of stuff. This is what's left on the battlefield, and in the combat below with the chariot, I end up killing the chariot. I only lose 1 Noblar in the mix. So for Orc turn 4, the little Noblars, the 2 guys, get charged by the Savage Orcs, and they flee, and he just gets a bit closer to me at this point. And the Black Orcs and the Shaman back up. They don't want to run into the combat. They want to be able to cast some magic this turn. And the Bunker is just slowly making its way forward. Or maybe they actually fail an animosity test. Actually, yeah, they do. They don't go anywhere, which kind of sucks. For Winds of Magic, we get 5 dice. And Chris gets off Foot of Gork, which is never a good thing. 3 Ogres get pulled off of this unit. And 3 more get pulled off of this unit. During shooting, the Stone Thrower actually gets direct hit onto the Iron Blaster with its strength 9, but only manages to do 3 wounds, which is awesome. And I'll give you this opportunity to take a look at my newly painted up Iron Blaster. I'm very happy with how he came out. And he's kind of hiding behind the forest here, so yay! So, Leadbelcher turn 5. This is what I end up doing. I charge into the Savage Orc, the Black Orc, and the Shaman with my Slaughtermaster and the remaining Leadbelchers, which luckily, after all those wounds that I took from foot, I didn't fail a single panic test, which I think I'm pretty lucky on. At this point, I have Leadership 7 or Leadership 8 if I'm within range of the Slaughtermaster, but hopefully I can do that good at Brawlers, at Crossroads. It's just, I don't have a BSB, so I'm kind of nervous about that. But you can see what I did here with the Noblars, though. I lined them up for a charge onto the front unit, and then he has to overrun to the second unit, in which case I'll have a turn to react and flank charge or rear charge him, depending on how he's lined up. So he's kind of in a little gauntlet here, and with Frenzy, he has to overrun, and he really can't make any other decisions unless he wants to hand them somewhere else, but that's just a waste of another turn. There's some shooting and some magic, but really the big thing is I hit the Shaman, run him down, get the points for the Black Orcs, get the points for the General, and then I, just short of an inch, almost get to the Goblins, which would have been crazy. But at that point, Chris calls the game, because, I mean, he lost his General and a big unit. And he would also waste his entire turn 5 dealing with this little maneuver, which I think is hilarious. And that's what you get for bringing Frenzied Orcs. But this is the last shot, and as I said, we'll let Chris bring his thoughts in on this. So this is the last picture of the game. We'll go into some post-analysis of the battle, but just looking at this picture, I have a special surprise for you. Chris is going to go ahead and share his thoughts on this little Gambit.
I want to warn everyone. This is a legitimate warning to anybody who ever plays a game with Nick. He's more full of shit than a fucking manure truck. It's absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. He comes into a game with a list and goes, "It's not competitive, Chris. It's not competitive." And then the next thing he does is do 9 of the cheesiest fucking things I've ever seen. And then he makes me sit here, and then he doesn't roll bad the entire game. And when he rolls average, he goes, "Oh, that was bad. Chris, that was a bad roll." No, it wasn't. You rolled average. That's not bad. In the last, 5 games I've played against Nick, I think my War Machines have misfired. How many times?
That's pretty bad.
4 War Machines. I think I have about 10 misfires. And Nick didn't roll a misfire on how many cannon shots?
At least 8 altogether.
Yeah, Nick can go fuck himself.
Okay.
That's it. End of story.
So, I guess the Leadbelcher list, which I think is not good, is going to Crossroads so I can just piss people off.
I don't, I think if I get you in the first round of Crossroads, which is potentially where it would happen, I'm going to be so freaking angry. I will be so mad. Yeah, this list is just frustrating. And then he does this dumb thing where I feel like I'm watching NASCAR where my shit's going to go in circles. And it happens to be making a left turn too. So, you know what? Call it the NASCAR list.
The NASCAR list?
It's the NASCAR list, man.
Well, the Noblars are going to do a good job of getting people upset.
People absolutely annoyed as hell.
So
Nick is a charismatic guy. I don't understand how he has friends sometimes. I don't get this. When he does shit like this, I don't know how he has any friends.
It's the game.
I don't know how anybody talks to him. Don't talk to him for sure. If you haven't met him yet, don't go up to him and talk to him. He's rude as hell. He's just a rude asshole. So, yeah, that's how I feel. That's my inner thoughts. My head is about to explode.
So I don't think we need any more analysis on the end of this game. You saw it firsthand, and with Chris's closing thoughts, victory to the Ogres. Thanks, guys.
Adios. Don't play with Nick.